The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Here's what's cooking on today's Sports Though Football Show. We are previewing the NFC West. That's what's cooking on today's Sports Though Football Show. Welcome in to an all-new edition of the Sports Though Football Show on the Belly Up Sports Network, presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com and use the promo code STOW15. You're going to get 15% off your purchase. Today we are coming to you live from the Ohio studio at my dad's house. We've got two divisions left to do in the NFL previews, and tonight we're doing the NFC West. I'm here with my dad, Dale Stover. How you doing, Dad?
Good, doing good. Glad to have you here in Ohio. And, the NFL season's coming right along. We'll be watching a little preseason football in a little bit.
That's right. And so we got a lot to talk about. There's football on, kicking off right now, basically. And so we'll get to that, though. But today we're looking at the NFC West. We've come through all these other ones. We saw a few injuries already happen in camp and things like that. So we got a lot to get to, though, and we're going to look at the NFC West today. So let's get things started. I have to pull up my notes correctly. There we go. Arizona is where we're starting at. The Arizona Cardinals. On each team, we're doing breakout players, make or break players, depth chart battles, and then we'll close it out with win totals and floor and ceilings for each team. So let's start with the Arizona Cardinals and breakout player for Arizona.
It could be a couple, but I'll go with defensive end. They need their defense to go, and that'd be Darius Robinson. They're expecting a big year from him.
Okay. I've been talking all offseason about Marvin Harrison Jr., and so he's my breakout player. He's bulked up a little bit. He had an okay rookie year, but he needs to have a better sophomore year. I think he will. I think in order for Arizona to hit their peak, Marvin Harrison Jr. has to be an elite wide receiver one. And I think he will be this coming season as well. All right, let's talk make or break players for Arizona.
Yeah, I think it would be the backup running back, Trey Benson.
Okay.
Coming out of college, had great potential there. And it'll be interesting to see if he can really establish it. If he can be kind of what he was in college, they'll have a real 1-2 punch with Connors. So looking at their lineup, I thought Trey Benson was one.
Okay. I went with the edge rusher, Zaven Collins, a first-round draft pick from a few years ago. He's never really been a first-round draft pick in the team. So he's got to have a season this year because they brought in other guys. And I'll talk about him with the depth chart battle next, which I guess we can go there. You've got Collins, you've got Birch, you've got Thomas, you got Ojulari, all coming into this edge rushing scene. And Collins has got a lot of competition there. And I don't think if he can't establish himself this year, I think he's kind of stuck in that linebacker 2 kind of spot there going forward. So I think he's the big one to watch this year. Any depth chart? I got the edge for depth chart battles. Do you have a depth chart battle also?
Well, it looks like they will have a little bit of a battle for the third wide receiver to see where they're at. They got Dortch, Jones, Weaver, and others battling out for that. So, again, I think Arizona could have a good season, but, they're going to need to fill out their spots. So,
yeah, they definitely are. There's plenty of things going on there. Again, if they're going to have the kind of season I think they can have, they're going to have guys really step up and fill those voids there for the team. So let's talk about win total. In the NFC West, they're very similar. 8.5 for Arizona. How do you see the floor and the ceiling for Arizona with their win total at 8.5?
Well, looking at their schedule, I'd have to be under 8.5. I had their ceiling at 8 and their floor at 5 and had them at about 7. So,
okay, so I've got their floor at 7 and their ceiling at 10. When I look at Kyler Murray, if he is what he can be, Connor, if he is what he can be, Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, the offense should be good. Defensively, they've got the talent. They brought in Calais Campbell, brought him back. They brought in Dalvin Tomlinson on the defensive line. Also, they drafted Walter Nolan. I like what they did in the draft overall. Will Johnson has looked really good in camp so far at cornerback. He's he's been jumping passes left and right. So that's either that he's doing good or Kyler Murray's doing bad, one of the two. But I like what they've got on defense. Max Melton in his second year now. Those kinds of things too. So I really like this team, but I could not get over 10 wins for them when I looked at their ceiling. The schedule just for all these West teams, it's really hard. So I've got them 7 as the floor, 10 as the ceiling, but I'm really high on Arizona. Even with that being said, I think the West winner is at 10 wins in the West.
Wow. Yeah, I would like to see them do well. Arizona is one of those coaches. There's 2 or 3 coaches that are in that category that, either they're going to definitely have to show that they've got things going in the right direction, or, they'll be replaced because he's a third year coach?
Third. Yeah, I think third.
Yeah. And there's 2 or 3 guys kind of in that same category. So
right. Yeah, no, that's a great point. I need to remember this, but I want to do a hot seat coaches topic before the season starts. I think Gannon could be there. I think overall he's doing well, but they're going to have to take another step forward. All right, let's go to the Rams next. Breakout player for the Rams, who do you have?
Well, it's a guy that was really good in college that I liked, and I think he will pick it up as the backup running back, and that's Blake Corum.
Okay.
So I think he is a really good player, and I think he can find a role. So I'm interested to see that.
Yeah, I'm with Corum. I like him too. 3rd-round pick last year. They took a 4th-round flyer this year on Jacquez Hunter out of Auburn, and they seem to really like him too. So I'm curious of how they're going to split carries with those guys back there. That might even be a good depth chart battle to watch as well. My breakout player is the wide receiver Tutu Atwell. He got drafted in the 2nd round of 2021. He's did okay last year. He's going to start this year, and he's got some competition. We'll talk about that again in a second. But I think that he's got the potential. You got Devontae Adams on one side. You've got Puka Nacua on the other side. That should open things up for Tutu Atwell there as well. All right, let's go to make or break players. I'll start here with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. Like backup quarterback, can he beat out Stetson Bennett? They're saying all the right things, but I mean, this is his last chance. If he can't beat out Stetson Bennett, especially if he's the 3rd string or gets cut, his chances of ever starting again are probably down to 0. So I think it's a big year for him, especially here in this preseason time. Stafford, his back issues, they're going to need a backup quarterback. And so who will it be? I think Garoppolo, it's a make or break year for him.
Yeah, well, the make or break player I had was Stafford just because, is he going to I like him. He's had a good career. Is he hung on a year or too long? So, is he going to be able to have a full season and really I think a lot of the Rams season will come down to that. Stafford, if he can have a decent year, the Rams to me are one of the scarier teams in the NFC. So we'll see.
Yeah, his back is the scariest thing because it's already hurting. Haven't even started the season yet. And it's not a talent issue for him. A lot of these guys, it's a talent thing. You didn't find the right fit, and the talent isn't living up to the expectation. For Stafford, it's not talent. That's not the question. It's purely health. And if that back's messed up, it's going to affect how he plays. And, it could be very, very ugly, or it can be quite amazing once again. Depth chart battles. We talked about the running backs already with Hunter and Corum as the backup. Tutu Atwell, I think he's going to get pushed a little bit there. I think he's got that job, but maybe watch and see who pushes there at the wide receiver level. Xavier Smith, maybe. Jordan Whittington, maybe even the 7th rounder, Kanata Mumfield, as a potential as well. So those are the positions I'm kind of watching depth-wise, at least for the Rams.
Yeah, well, I think it'd be interesting with the tight ends because, that's a position I don't know that they're super solid in.
Yeah.
And they've got 2 or 3 guys battling there, and be interesting to see if one guy really steps up and becomes, the guy they can go to all the time.
Yeah, and I don't like Higbee. As a fantasy guy, I don't like Higbee, and he's had fine seasons. They did draft the Oregon tight end, Terrence Ferguson, in the second round, so maybe he wins some opportunities. Maybe he's tight end 2 this year, but ends up being the better fantasy option there too, so I'm not sure how that one will shake out. Win totals for the Rams, they're at 9.5. And I've got their floor and their ceiling exactly the same as Arizona. I've got them at 7 wins as your floor, 10 wins as your ceiling for the Rams. What do you think about them?
Well, I'm definitely higher on the Rams with all the talent they have, with the coach that they have. So I've got their ceiling at 12 and their floor at 10. I just looking at the schedule, they ought to be able to at least get 10 wins. So I'll go over 9.5.
So the way I look at it is Stafford again. Is Stafford going to play 17 games? I don't think so.
No.
And I don't think they're going to win games that Stafford doesn't play. So that's why I have a lower ceiling for them, is because I'm assuming Stafford's going to miss 3, 4, or more games. I have a hard time with the Rams figuring out where I want to put them. And I'll talk about that more in a moment. All right, let's go to San Francisco. San Francisco next. Breakout player for San Francisco. Who do you have?
Again, they've got a lot of people to replace and a lot of things to strengthen. But I went with the right tackle, Colton McKinnon, for him to solidify the offensive line and provide, Brock Purdy some time there. So a couple different guys I could have taken, but I think he'll be one that needs to have a good year.
Okay. I'm going with the guy I actually brought up on the fantasy show on Tuesday is wide receiver Juwan Jennings. I think he's due for a huge year. Brandon Ayuk's got the injury issues, the contract concerns. Ricky Pearsall is fine, but Juwan Jennings can be a difference maker. So he's got to get healthy, but I think that he's going to have a breakout year. I think you're going to see a lot of Juwan Jennings this year in San Francisco. Okay, make or break player. Who do you have?
Again, I went to the offensive line, the left guard, Ben Barch. Again, they're going to if they have 1 or 2 weak spots on the offensive line, it's going to be a tough year. So
I really had a hard time finding somebody here. Brandon Ayuk is the obvious one to me, just because of all the drama that he's been this year. He's still going to have the talent. So, even if he ends up getting traded, it's probably not a traditional make or break year for him. But to me, this can kind of set the path now for the rest of his career. Does he turn into an Antonio Brown, where people are kind of like, well, maybe we'll give him a shot, but not sure we want to put up with the drama. So I guess I'll go with Brandon Ayuk for that one. Depth chart battles. Who do you have for the depth chart battle?
It looks like the safety position is one that's a question. Brown and Mustafa. Mustafa coming off an injury season. And, there's a lot of spots on the 49ers that are going to have to get shored up, but that's one of them.
Yeah, they signed 3 safeties in the offseason, and they drafted 1. So that whole position, both safety spots are up for grabs. Brown, I think he's probably pretty well locked in. Mustafa had the injury concerns too. Jason Pinnock comes over from the Giants. Richie Grant from the Falcons, and Ciaran Neal from Miami, who I actually like better than all those guys. So that's who I had too, was the safety spots. It's wide open right now there in San Francisco. Win totals, boy, they got them at 10.5, Dad. And I can't get there at 10.5 for San Francisco. So what's the floor and ceiling for San Francisco?
Okay, what was their over under?
10.5.
10.5.
Yeah.
Holy moly. I'll definitely go under 10.5. I thought I would be a little more down on San Francisco, but when I looked at their schedule, it's a little more forgiving, but I have their ceiling at 8 and their floor at 5. Okay. I had them at about 7, maybe 8 wins. It's kind of what I had.
So there's a theme for me with the West. I have all 4 teams. I have their floor at 7 and their ceiling at 10. To me, they're so even across the board. Same way with you. I was thinking, I bet I'm going to be down on the 49ers. I look at their schedule, and I'm saying, I thought, man, they could definitely get to 10. I don't see them getting to 11, but I get to see them getting to 10. So I went 7-10 for San Francisco also. And I'll come back to this when we talk about the complete breakdown of the division. Let's go to Seattle next. We had a request from our good friend Kevin Wilson. He asked us to be nice talking about Seattle tonight. Let's go to the Seahawks, though. Breakout player for the Seahawks. Who do you have?
I've got a linebacker, Tyrese Knight. Okay. Again, Seattle, defense is important, and this is a guy I think they think can really make a difference. Yeah,
I'm going with the rookie, Torrey Horton, the wide receiver, 5th-round pick out of Colorado State. Listen, here's the deal. You've got Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's going to be great. You've got Cooper Kupp, who should be solid. You've got Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who I hate. So I think Torrey Horton's going to get that spot, the 3rd spot. I think he's going to start most of the games, and I think he's going to be phenomenal because Kupp is simply a role player now. He has a role to fill, and he'll fill it well. Smith-Njigba, he's going to be phenomenal. There's got to be that other pass catcher there. Now, they've got the rookie tight end as well with the trade there with dropping Noah Fant recently. Elijah Arroyo, you're going to see a lot of him this year. A.J. Barner, too. But I think Torrey Horton's going to be an immediate impact player for Seattle. So as a 5th-round pick, he's going to be my breakout player for the Seahawks this year. Make or break player.
Well, this one may be a little odd, but I went with Sam Darnold because, I heard a couple of Seahawks guys, I think it was Kevin, that said that before it's over, Milroe will be, the starting quarterback. I don't know if it'll be this year. I think for Sam Darnold was last year just a fluke? Was it the coach? Or is he a legitimate starting quarterback, whether it's at Seattle or somewhere else? Is he a guy that, hey, if we need a quarterback and we plug him in, he's a legitimate starter? I think this year will kind of show where we're at with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, that's who I have too. I don't think it was a fluke. I think that if he can do it in Minnesota, he can do it anywhere. That's not totally true. Yeah. Justin Jefferson's amazing. Yeah. TJ Hawkinson's really good. But I think this fits. I think what he has. I think Cooper Kupp, Jackson Smith-Njigba, I think that's a big part of it. The run game should be really solid with Kenneth Walker. And so I think I would bet on the side of good for Sam Darnold. I still think 3 years down the road, Milroe's the replacement. But this is going to set up that final contract for Sam Darnold one way or the other. And I think he's going to have a really good year. But he is my make or break player also because I think Sam Darnold is the one that we're still waiting. Well, I've been so outspoken about the Vikings and how stupid it was for him to get rid of him. I really hope he's good this year, or I've got a lot of apologies to make. All right, depth chart battles. Who you got?
Well, I think it's their interior offensive line, right guard and center. I think it's wide open, and they've got to get that settled.
Yeah, I'll even narrow it to just right guard. That's where I'm at as well. Christian Haynes, Anthony Bradford, and Jalen Sundell are the 3 guys fighting for that spot at right guard. They drafted the left guard in the 1st round. They've got a solid left tackle. They've got a good right tackle, but that right guard spot has to be solidified. And that's what you need to watch with Seattle this year, this preseason. Okay, win total is 8.5 for Seattle.
Whew, that's kind of just about right there. Like I said, when I looked at San Francisco's schedule, I thought, well, they could win more than I thought.
Yeah.
Seattle, I wanted to say they're gonna make the playoffs. But when I looked at their schedule, there are some tough games there. They're gonna have some, I don't know. So I had their ceiling at 9 and their floor of 6.
Okay.
And had 8 wins. So 8.5 would be about right there, probably a hair under.
Well, like I said, I've got all 4 of these teams. 7 is the floor, 10 is the ceiling. And so when I'm looking at it right now, I'm saying I just think the teams themselves are so equal. Schedule's going to play everything on these things. So when we look at the division as a whole, I had a really hard time with coming up with my order of 1 through 4 for this division. And so I'll let you give your thoughts first. How does this division finish?
Well, let me ask about Seattle, because to me, that was one of the teams like Arizona with the coach.
Sure.
He needs to continue now. They made the playoffs before, but with Seattle, is he a guy that's going to carry them on? Or if he has a tough year, to me, him and the Arizona coach are kind of in the same boat. Do you think that's right? Or
no? So they made the change. They brought in Clint Kubiak at offensive coordinator. So this year they have a built-in excuse. Sam Darnold. So if Sam Darnold is poor this year, it's not going to be Mike McDonald's fault. It's going to be Sam Darnold's fault. Oh, it was a dud. All right. So he gets this year. He gets a pass this year. Now, if they're great, then all's good with the world. But if they're bad, it'll be Sam Darnold's fault, not Mike McDonald's fault. They're going to give him an opportunity. If Darnold doesn't work, they'll give him an opportunity with Milroe. So he's got a little bit longer of a leash, I think, than Gannon does in Arizona.
Okay. Well, as far as the order, I definitely have the Rams number 1. I understand the deal about Stafford, but I feel like they could be really good. So I'm going to go with the Rams. Then the next 3 are really, really close.
Yeah.
But I'll go Seattle, Arizona, and then San Francisco.
Okay. All right. So here's the way I did it. I put Arizona first because I just think they have the biggest ceiling. They have the best opportunity to break out, right? They got young offensive stars, good defense. I'm kind of going all in on Arizona this year. So I've got them at first. After that, shake it up, throw it out on the table, whatever comes out happens. So I ended up with going San Francisco second. And I go back to coaching on that. I say, okay, if I trust these coaches, I kind of like the other 3 coaches. I don't love Gannon in Arizona, but I do like the other 3 coaches. San Francisco's been there, done that, gives me a little bit of confidence. Then I went Seattle third. I just believe in Sam Darnold this year. I think that what they've done in Seattle is going to work. I mean, if it's 8 wins, they could still be third place in the division. Then I went Rams fourth, solely based on the health of the quarterback, Matt Stafford. I just don't think he's going to be healthy, and I think that's going to absolutely crush this team. So I think that you could see all of these teams within 2 games of each other at the end of the season.
They could be. The thing that worries me about,
Yeah. He's all choked up over this NFC West.
The thing that worries me about Arizona is Murray's health.
Sure.
Because, he's a runner, and, if he holds up a whole year, they could win the division. There's no doubt about that. San Francisco, there's just been too much drama.
Right.
They've lost too many veterans. They have the same coach.
Yeah.
And again, I may be just hanging on to this, but I'm not convinced Brock Purdy is the guy. They didn't have any choice. They had to sign him.
Right.
But I don't know that, can he carry the team? Now, if McCaffrey's healthy, that'll be a whole different deal. But I think losing Deebo Samuel, the other wide receiver, you never know what he's going to, decide to do and not. To me, San Francisco is just not stable enough. But it'll depend on what kind of start they get.
Well, they brought back Robert Saleh on defense. And they've got a stacked defensive unit. So I go back to kind of the Patriots in some ways with this one. Now, Purdy is not Tom Brady. And the coach is not Belichick either, and Shanahan. But this is kind of one of those teams where I go, there's enough there. They're just going to be hard to beat. They may not win the games, but they're going to be really hard to beat. When I was putting it together, I had Arizona 1. I had that locked in. I had Seattle 2 for a moment. And then I had the Rams second for a second. And then I had the 49. And I was flipping back and forth. It took me a while to come up with this order. So, like I said, I think the winner of the division is a 10-win team. I think the loser of the division is a 7-win team. So I think only 3 games are going to separate all 4 teams. I think they're going to be really close unless Stafford goes down early, then the Rams could fall off completely. So that's why I put it that way. I actually have probably a little bit more confidence in Seattle than I do San Francisco, but San Francisco's been there, done that, and Seattle hasn't with this group of people. So that's why I went with that direction, but I think it's a toss-up in the West. All the other divisions I think are pretty well easier to break down. I think the West is really hard. So that's where I land on it. We have one division left, the AFC East is the last division we have. We've broken down all the other divisions in the NFL up to this point. So if you've missed any past episodes, make sure you go back and check those out. And you can get them on the Sports Show Football Show podcast or on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel there as well. Dad, anything else you want to discuss before we sign off?
Well, no, as you know, we're getting into preseason football now.
Yeah.
And this has been very interesting because there seems to be a big change as far as veterans playing.
Right.
You know, it like the last 2 years, you know, no veterans were going to play.
Yeah.
Well, now they are. They're going to play a couple series.
Yeah.
I think if I remember right, the Bengals said they'll play more next week than they do this week.
Yeah.
Even Matt LaFleur came out today with something from the NFL that the NFL gave stats that it's safe for people to play, and you know, it's really been a big change.
Yeah.
So you know, next Monday, will there be all these injuries and all of a sudden there, or will we have a better start to the season? Because the last few years, a lot of teams have struggled at the start of the season. And I think when you talk about the Bengals, you talk about the Packers, you talk about a couple other teams, they had to sit there in the offseason and say, we just can't go 1-3.
Right.
You know, we've got to be ready to play.
Yeah.
And so, you know, preseason football all of a sudden to me is a lot more interesting. That's, you know, interesting to see how that's changed. And
well,
I guess most everybody's signed now. Well, the guy at Dallas isn't. And
well, yeah, there's disputes. There's hold-ins. James Cook in Buffalo, Micah Parsons, Terry McLaurin. There's guys that are having disputes. Most of your rookies are signed there. But this preseason thing, it's until the first guy gets hurt. The first star that gets hurt, it's off the board. Everyone's done.
Yeah. Well, there's been guys getting hurt at practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Slater get hurt today.
Yep, done for the year.
Get carted off. And again, you know, most teams I think have going to have scrimmages, you know, before, like the Packers will with the Colts next week. So if there's any question this week about how it looks, the next 2 practices for them will be controlled scrimmages. So, you know, they may not need to play in the in the game again. So I didn't see that coming, that there was going to be a change in that this year. But now that we, you know, just 3 weeks of preseason, you know, all the talk is going to be about football and the season coming up. Fantasy football, of course, you guys have been doing your podcast on Tuesdays, and I highly recommend that. The 3 of you have differing views, so you get to see different ideas. And the other 2 guys, you know, 3 different favorite teams, so you get more information there.
True.
You know, I think that's good. And, you know, we've got our fantasy draft scheduled, so my mind every day is starting to keep thinking more about fantasy football, and that's a lot of fun. If people haven't played fantasy football just for the fun of it, they need to. It makes it a lot more interesting. Yeah,
that's one of the reasons we got into it was to, and I got my kids into it, is it makes them pay attention more, enjoy it more. It's something you do as a family. We got a whole league of just family members this year, so you know it's a good time. It's a good time for sure. Tune in on Tuesday. Belly Up Fantasy Live Football Show is on Tuesday. Check that out. You can also find that in the podcast version. This weekend, there's going to be a lot of content going out at Belly Up Sports. So we got the Fantasy Football Expo up in Canton, Ohio, and we'll be there doing some live streams Saturday and Sunday. So make sure you tune in on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel, and you're going to get a lot of fantasy football content coming in this weekend as well. So, all right, anything else?
No.
All right, well, that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of the Sports Stove Football Show. We sure appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, we'll see you. Maybe you're going to see my other angle around the Sports Stove.